Welcome to this week's edition of the Bald Monkeys Wrestling Podcast, the post-WrestleMania edition. And as with every pay-per-view comes the bragging. So we're in a position where I get to brag and Steven gets to brag, but God, Chris, you just don't get to brag, do you?
No, unfortunately, I'm one short of being braggable. So, but that's okay. I think it was a good fight all the way around for us. I think we all were pretty close, and what's more important is you were completely wrong.
Completely wrong about what?
There's no way, Stephen. You remember this? There's no way that all of the faces can win, right? They would never
Not in a
do
million
that.
years. They wouldn't do that. That's not how
Not
they book
in a
stuff in
million
WWE.
years. They would not do that.
I mean, don't blame me because they've got bad writers. I mean, you can't say that. You can't say nobody here can say they've got great writers because we've all been like, yeah, because their writing sucks and their writing sucks. It's like, yeah, their writing sucks because wouldn't it have been more compelling if one of those people lost? If Becky Lynch had lost, wouldn't it have been a more compelling story? Or if Kofi would have lost, wouldn't it have been a more compelling story?
And
But then
I
you'd
think
be
the
right
reason
and you're
why
not. You're wrong.
I gotcha.
all of
Good.
them won is why they spaced the card out the way they did.
Hey, honestly, like I loved them putting Lesnar and Rollins first. That was great. Like, and honestly, like they did a good job. Like we were ripping it apart. And I, 7.5 hours of wrestling, I kind of enjoyed it, except for a couple of parts. It was really good.
Two
Like,
really,
and
really horrible parts, to be specific.
but like honestly, like they did a good job. I mean, we were talking earlier this week that it was probably better than last year. They took no storylines and turned them into good matches. I loved the John Cena thing. That was hilarious. That was, if I couldn't have John Cena versus Kurt Angle, getting Thugonomics back was great. Like that was entertaining as hell. And my preference was to not see the Undertaker, and I didn't. So all in all, yeah, I was pretty happy with
Not until
WrestleMania.
Monday night.
I'll take that. I'll take that break from the Undertaker for once. But man, it started out hot. The whole weekend started out hot on Friday.
Oof, that Friday. Oh my God. NXT Takeover. Let's talk about some NXT Takeover because that is always the shining star, but specifically this time, so good.
And a surprise, so good because if you looked at the card, like, and you listen to our podcast and you hear us talk about it, we were talking about how great the 2 out of 3 falls match would be, how the tag match might steal the show, and even how the women's match was going to be a decent match. But I don't think we were really touching on what Matt Riddle and Velveteen Dream could do, and
It was amazing.
might have won the weekend. Like that guy came out, and that was his coming out party, and he's got a pretty good future ahead of himself. He's going to put on shows like that.
I think
At the same time, he was in there with Velveteen, who can deliver.
deliver as somebody who sells specifically.
Yeah, he sold well.
Velveteen is just like, I mean, every single thing. He reacted to every single thing Matt Riddle did to him, and he's constantly like, just like screaming the whole time, and it was great. It was like it was almost to the point of almost being borderline ridiculous, but then again, like in the best way possible, like very, very just enjoyable selling of wrestling moves.
Riddle also was doing like some moves I didn't even know he had in his repertoire. Like that was like that thing off the top rope. What was that? Like that was insane out of nowhere.
I think they called it like the flying bro, I believe, right?
Everything's the bro something, right? Like he does like a broton or something like that.
Yeah, flying Roton. I don't know. He's because he's the OB, man.
King of the bros.
He's the original bro, yo.
But as good as that was, like, where does he go now? Like, he didn't beat Velveteen. Granted, Velveteen kind of surprise beat him, right? That was his first loss on NXT. So, do you keep that feud going? Is he eventually the North American, title holder, or does he go after Gargano now? Like where do you go from here if you're Matt Riddle?
Yeah, I think the important question would be not for Matt Riddle, but more for Velveteen Dream. Like, what do you envision with Velveteen Dream? Because I think at this point, Velveteen Dream is one of the more complete wrestlers in NXT. So the question becomes, are you wanting him to hold the title at all? Or are you fine with him just holding the mid card in NXT? And then, by this time next year, you'll probably have moved him up.
I mean, that's what they did with Ricochet.
Yeah.
Ricochet held that title for a little bit and dropped it, and then that's when they had the ability to move him and Black up to the main roster. Yeah.
But I don't think it's necessary.
That's what they're going to be doing with Cole.
I mean, the problem is again, your NXT fans are pretty hardcore fans. I don't know that they care about the validity of being a title holder, a specific title holder. Like, oh, well, you can't move him up because he's never won the big title. Well, who cares about the big title? Yeah, is he or isn't he a good wrestler?
Very much.
It's kind of like that whole Tommy Dreamer argument, talking about like ECW, where it's like Tommy Dreamer literally never ever wanted to win the belt, and he was actually forced to win it, so he could immediately lose it. So that made that even more compelling. But a title wasn't necessary for him to be a very good wrestler.
You brought something up that I don't know that I have the answer for. Is there a guy on the main card that never title that has made a pretty decent run on the main card? Rollins was the first champion, right? Guys like Neville, Sami Zayn, KO, they all had the title.
Well, yeah, but okay. Let me take it one small step back though and clarify something. I don't care.
Curious.
I don't care what they think though.
No. But I'm not worried about that. I'm just curious if there's a guy who, despite not having success in NXT, has had success on the main card.
I'm not sure. I don't know the answer to that question.
Because we had that conversation last week about the tag teams, right? And how the tag teams had a lot of success in NXT, but haven't been able to find success on the main card.
I mean, you could probably go back to somebody in Nexus. Would almost have to be, because not all those guys ever held any major title, right? But of course, it was kind of different back then too.
Yeah, that's different.
I go through all the champions, the Bobby Roodes, the McIntyres. I have to look at it, but it's an interesting thing. Maybe we can revisit it. It's just I don't know if there's a guy who didn't have the title that's made it. What about Bray?
Bray. But again, he was kind of that Nexus era, right?
Now,
Husky
Harris.
What about people like Cesaro and stuff? Was that before NXT?
He had some time in NXT with what's his name? Kid, Natalia's husband.
Tyson Kidd.
Yeah, Tyson Kidd. So he had some time in NXT. He didn't have any runs or anything. I don't believe he held any titles, tag or
I was about to say
NXT title.
I guess we could consider
He'd be
him
a good one, yeah.
Well, regardless of the fact, the way that I look at it is any title that you have is more of a way of elongating your time on a developmental show. So holding that NXT title and holding it for a long time, it can be a way of just, I don't know. I mean, I kind of say that, but I mean, hell, Ciampa was ready to go up forever ago. The reason they didn't bring him up was because the story was just too compelling.
Yeah, never got their final, chapter to that story, and unfortunately, it ended abruptly.
Yeah, you were wrong about that, by the way.
Wrong about what?
Wrong about there's no way Gargano can win because he has to beat Ciampa. Incorrect.
Yes, I was incorrect about the decision, but I'm going to use your argument against you. You can't tell me it wouldn't have been a more compelling story if it was Gargano over Ciampa rather than Gargano over Cole. They did a good job. It was a great match as usual, but Ciampa in that spot over Cole is a better match.
I mean, I would agree with that. You know, the only X factor is really the time frame, because if Ciampa was only going to be out for a couple months, they would have just preserved it. But instead, you know, being out for a while, it's like, well, you know, as much as we might like the story, nobody cares that much that they're like ready to wait that long. Like, oh yeah, let's keep that story going, like, with nothing going on for an entire year or something like that. That doesn't sound like fun.
But what I don't get is, been perfectly okay if that story went away for a year and came back and just picked up right where it left off. And we're kind of fast forwarding to the last match at Takeover, but what was your comment basically as he comes out and walks behind him and gives him a hug?
Yeah, I sent the text message. I said, well, so much for kayfabe.
Like,
yeah,
they
murdered it.
Both of you. Could Ciampa come back as a heel still, or is he basically no? You can't tell me he doesn't walk out there as a face the next time he walks into a ring.
Well, it's again, we're going back to that more compelling thing. Well, it's more compelling for him to come back as a face and then turn heel. That being said, he could come out straight as a heel anyway.
I think they do the whole bring him back as like a savior. They'll have Gargano on the main roster getting beat down, and then they bring in Ciampa to help save him whenever he's cleared to come back, and they bring him back on the main roster.
What's his new name now, Steven? What's his new nickname now?
I don't even care anymore.
To the Blackheart, to the...
Oh, yeah.
That's Steven.
It was your idea, Steven. How do you not remember this? Golden Heart. It was Golden Heart.
Yeah.
Mentioned that a few weeks ago on the podcast, did you?
I don't. Yeah, I don't like it.
No. Oh no, you love it. It's one of those.
No, you love it. You love it. I don't love it at all. I say the sigh thing. Like, so here's the deal, people. Occasionally, one of us will say a storyline and be like, well, you know, they could do this, that, or the other thing, and then somebody goes, ugh. And typically, what that means is it means I hate that because it sounds so plausible. Now, that was you reacting to his comment going, oh, my God, that sounds like it could happen. I ain't buying it. I don't think so. He's the Blackheart.
You can have them be a heel tag team.
Yeah, let's do it. I'm fine with that.
He comes back as the Golden Heart for a little while, and then I think he goes back to a heel. I think it makes sense. It's
this weird thing where it's like, while I appreciate the underdog story that Gargano has, we were having a conversation the other day at work about who is like singles talent and who is tag team talent, and whether it's detrimental to somebody to push them in a tag team when they're a really good singles talent. And as good as Gargano is, and as many great matches as he has, this might sound a little controversial, but I like him, almost like him a little bit better in the tag team. Now, that being said, it's weird because I don't like Ciampa in the tag team as much. I like him as a solo person. So it's like, who do you pair him with at that point?
You're right, though. Gargano seems more interesting when he's in a tag, and Ciampa seems like the best heel ever when he's by himself.
Whereas you look at his opponent at TakeOver, Cole. Now, Cole, I love him in the stable, but you would be wasting him to put him in a tag team. You know, every now and then him being in a tag team match, that would be fine. Like, especially if, you know, a story arc had ended and it's like, well, we need to show a little bit Adam Cole, so let's throw him into a tag team match randomly, kind of like New Daying it or whatever. But apart from that, I would never want him to just always be in a tag team. He's way, way, way too good as a singles wrestler.
I think they're getting ready to break them up.
Yeah. Well, not only that, I think, and there was the weird interaction with them backstage before the show. O'Reilly was going to be the new kind of quasi leader. Which, if you had to pick the next leader of Undisputed, I don't. I think O'Reilly might be second or last, right? Like Fish seems to be like the most logical next guy to lead the way.
I love Fish. I'm a huge Fish
Yeah.
fan.
Yeah. It just seems like O'Reilly might take over. So if they break them up, like I got a weird feeling that maybe Cole heads up to the main roster first by himself, and maybe he can build his own little faction before the rest of the guys come up, to meet him or even feud with him.
I think
So
it's more
yeah,
likely to feud with him.
yeah, which makes sense, right? Like it's a good storyline. Like you
Very
can
good.
almost have, and I've been talking about Cole and KO have roots in Ring of Honor, and why not? Bring them up and stick Cole up there with Kevin Owens, and they can
KO
cause a
and
little bit of
Sami
havoc
Zayn.
on the main roster.
Could be
Partner up with
interesting.
KO and Sami Zayn in the triplet.
Could be interesting.
And then here comes Fish, O'Reilly, and Strong to come up, and it's gonna be a question of, can they have that figurehead to be the leader without Cole there, and that's gonna be the question. Can O'Reilly or Fish step up? Because I don't think Strong can. His mic skills just aren't good enough, right?
Right, but
They're pretty good.
From before NXT, O'Reilly in the Indies was really good in that kind of like a figurehead role.
He might be getting a shot, and I'd be all about it. Like I love him. I think he's a great heel. I think he's a great goofy heel sometimes, but he also can wrestle. I mean, man, can he wrestle?
Yeah, he's good.
Nah, they all can wrestle. They're just solid, stable through and through.
Should be interesting.
What'd you think of that women's match?
You know, we
Takeover?
disagree on this.
We do a little bit, but
Yes,
I
David.
still would like to hear both of your guys' opinion on the women's match. I think I probably disagree the most with both of you guys about the women's match.
Let Steven go.
I think it underdelivered. We're out of all four of them.
I don't think
And
it
it
did.
It wasn't bad, but I felt like they could have had more.
Are you guilty of putting the bar too high for a
100%.
NXT women's match?
I expected it to be different.
Because there's the takeover bar, right? But then there's the women's match at a takeover bar. Which, if you're talking about a match that underdelivered as a women's match in a takeover, it would be the last takeover, where it was Bianca Belair versus Shayna Baszler. Yeah, that match underdelivered. The addition of Kairi Sane and Io Shirai helped kind of fill the gaps, and I thought the story, for the most part, it told a good story from every angle. I don't know. I mean, I know you disagree with me on this, Chris, but although
I don't just.
I would say the Io Shirai, Kairi Sane stuff in particular was very compelling to me because it was telling a really good story amongst that match where they're like working together and it's working out so well, and they really they didn't blow it early. Like, it seems like on the main card, when you have like a tag team and they're working together, they betray each other so quickly. Like, they didn't want to betray each other, and they were like showing like, I'm almost like out of reflex knocking you off this person so that you don't pin them, and then I'm like horrifically upset at the fact that I'm stopping you from winning the match. And they were doing it like for each other, and it was wonderful. I loved it.
Oh, I don't disagree with everything you've said. You're right. It was a compelling match. It was well done. I continue to doubt the in-ring rhythm of Bianca Belair. I don't doubt that she's an athlete. I don't doubt that she might be the most athletic wrestler in NXT right now.
Then we agree, I think.
But there's a rhythm and a cadence that she's missing.
But I still think
And watch that match. If you go back and watch the match, there are times where she's literally resetting her feet, resetting herself to get in position to take a move off the top rope, take a cross body, take something. she's in the wrong place and she has to reset herself, and it affects the match. Those little things, it's annoying because when you watch wrestling as much as we do, you start to notice these little things and it bothers you, and you point them out because you can't unsee them. So that's my only issue with her. I think she can get there, but I think right now her being in the main event takes away from how great. I don't think she doesn't deserve to be there. I would put her in there. Let her work through it. That's how Shayna Baszler did it, right?
But
Shayna Baszler has gotten to this point because they gave her main event matches, and to her credit, she's gotten better.
but
they need to give Belair more time.
You just missed it. You started down the path and you missed your exit. All right, you passed right by and you went, "Damn it, there goes my exit." Baszler was not the full package when she got the title. This is why I thought Belair should have won the title the whole time, because it secures the fact that she gets these main title defenses and it helps her work on those pressure moments in those pressure matches, because she has a lot of potential, but yeah, she's a little bit raw. Whereas the other three people in that match, they desperately need Kairi Sane and Io Shirai as a tag team in the women's division on the main card right now, because the tag team situation for the women is a mess. And that would be such a good tag team, and I'm not so sure that they're not coming up, because on SmackDown where Paige kind of dropped the bomb like, oh, they want a tag team to go up against, I'm going to bring them a tag team to go up against. So it very well could be them. I'm hoping it's them. It could be somebody totally different, but regardless, we'll see what that ends up being. But on the other side of that, my thought process was, and obviously we did not see Rousey at the Raw or the SmackDown. So if Rousey is in fact taking a break, like it was rumored that she was going to do,
she broke her hand.
Oh, did she break her hand? Well,
she broke her hand in the match. Yeah.
Well, then
I think in the fall off the ropes.
Then I'm going to, but I'm still going to double down on this opinion because I still think it makes sense. You want to build towards this 4 horsewomen thing, and having Shayna Baszler come up, because I think she's ready to start working her way up the main card, because there's still a lot of practice she needs on that side of it too. And so I think it's a good time to bring her up as well and start building to that. So then down the road, whenever Rousey does come back, maybe instead of, throwing Rousey right back into the title picture, you have her do some tag team work with Shayna Baszler, and they start to kind of put forth their dominance. The only argument I have against bringing Baszler up is that the other MMA women are so bad that they almost need her as the figurehead to lead them in NXT, or else what the hell are you doing with them? Them by themselves kind of doesn't make sense to me. But that's really my only argument against moving Baszler up. So my argument for why Belair should have won is, yes, you're right. She's not that great. She's a little bit sloppy. She doesn't have her timing down. But it's NXT. NXT is the development side, and the reason that the matches are so good in NXT is because they practice them all the time. The main card people, they don't get to practice them all the time. Their stories are always going in so many different directions that they have to fight people that they're not comfortable fighting all the time. That's why they don't always deliver.
If she's practicing all the time, why is she not able to perform in a main event? Does she have jitters? Is she choking?
Why was Baszler not always able to perform on the main roster? I mean, we're talking about somebody who has been on two major pay-per-views at this point. So she doesn't have a lot of experience.
You should fire her.
Oh, no, I'm not saying that. I never said that. Wait a second. Did that come out of my mouth? I didn't say fire her. I'm just saying Baszler, they kept
fighting my
sticking with
opinion
her.
of her rhythm.
No, I'm not fighting. No, I'm not fighting their opinion of your rhythm. I'm agreeing with you. I'm saying that that's why you give her the belt, though. You just keep putting her out there until she works it out. That's my whole point. And so it's not that we disagree. We do agree. You're just when you put like kind of a negative slant on focused on her. It's like I still think they should have given her the belt specifically for that reason.
Well, I've seen worse people carry a belt. I'm fine with it. I'd be fine with her with a belt.
Oh yeah, you know what? I'm immediately jumping into another topic. Now I'm going to let you guys talk about this because I know I've been ranting for a little bit. But
you, Jimmy.
My God, the women's battle royal. The women's battle royal was an affront to all of that is wrestling. It drove me flipping crazy at WrestleMania. So I want to hear your guys' opinion on it, though.
It was in the proper spot on the pre-show.
Spot on the pre-show?
Yeah, that's where it belongs.
Well, the major issue that I think we all had with it was 18 Women's Battle Royal.
It was the same.
Replace the last two people. That was it. They replaced Bailey and me. Sarah Logan and
only
Carmella.
It was worse. Only it was worse. Let me put a little bit in here. Only it was worse because
you're not supposed to be talking.
When we watched the 2018 Battle Royal, when we watched it, we were so pumped at the end when Bailey was in there, and we were like, "Oh my God, Bailey's gonna win it! This is great!" And then Naomi popped up, and we're like, "Oh!" And then she won it. And we're like, "Oh!" Like that was no fun. This time it was worse because it was Sarah Logan. We're all like, "Why is Sarah Logan gonna win it?"
I was cool with it. I was going to be okay with it.
No.
Everybody was behind Bailey. They had the whole, she's the underdog. She's always fighting for something. Going back to Chris's point, they had no storyline for any of these women going. Literally, it was just a match to have girls on the card.
And this goes back to our concern last week was we were concerned that with the main event being the three women, and the tag match, there was only two matches on the card and the match on the pre-show. That main event, I'm telling you, that main event killed the women's division. They are now the tag titles are floundering. That battle royal is a mess and didn't make any sense. Like they have set the division backwards by putting them all in that last match and putting both titles in that last match. An Asuka Lacey Evans or an Asuka Ruby Riott or an Asuka Mandy Rose and Sonya Deville. I would have took any one of those matches with Asuka in it with the title on her. After women's match on the card, I think would have helped the women's division. But taking the title off of her and putting them both in that last match, I mean, it's great. Becky's, killing it with the Becky 2 belts. It's hilarious. But
champ
is great, right? But again, it's killing the division. Like, you can't do that. You can't put everything in one basket and expect it to work. They did that with Jericho, and Jericho was gold, so it worked, right? I'm sorry. Becky's good. She's not Jericho.
No. And I think they're about to start backtracking from what I've been reading online. About that Money in the Bank splitting the titles again versus Lacey and both titles up there, and each of them grab one and fall off the ladder. So they split the titles back up. The feud for Becky going into SummerSlam is apparently Stephanie McMahon, who they're going to put the title on at SummerSlam.
Well,
it's just going to get worse.
I'll believe it when I see it. I mean, rumors are rumors. They don't mean jack until they actually happen. That's why I don't really read that much, because all it does is end up, you got to be careful, man. That stuff will pollute your brain.
I just thought you didn't read very much because you weren't very good at reading.
Yeah. you got it. You got it. One of the things I was sure about, and I think I made such a convincing argument that Chris agreed with me the second I threw it out, and then we watched the end of that battle royal and we were just like, what happened? Was I come to his house and I'm wearing my Ember Moon shirt. And I'm like, I'm not sure if Ember Moon's going to be there or not. But if she is, then I guarantee you this is going to happen. It's going to be Asuka and Ember Moon at the end of that battle royal, and at some point, maybe not at the beginning, maybe towards the end, Lacey Evans is going to come out and somehow she is going to win the battle royal, because that makes the most sense, because the battle royal makes, like, you literally have this position where you have 3 people in the ring and you have the 2 people you really want to go together. You really want Asuka and Ember Moon to get into a feud, because that's going to just be good old-fashioned wrestling. That's going to be good matches, no doubt. Lacey Evans is obviously the one that you want to push, and we know this because they're pushing her in Raw and SmackDown immediately after WrestleMania. So I'm confused as to why Carmella would win. Like, why wouldn't you have Lacey Evans go down there and her win that battle royal? Because at the end of the day, she has no, like, her reasoning holds no water. Like, okay, yeah, if I'm Becky and she attacks me, it's just like, well, I'm just going to attack her back, but I ain't giving her a title match because she doesn't deserve one, because she's never really even wrestled on the show before. But if you have her win the battle royal, it changes that.
Way they would have to make the battle royal mean something, and they don't want to do that.
Well, but see, that's the thing that makes no sense, right? Is that at the bare minimum, I'm not saying that it even gives you a title shot. I'm saying at the bare minimum, whoever wins the battle royal, it should be like, you know, the winning of the battle royal is like the image of them about to, you know, get a little bit of a push. Right? Shouldn't it be something to do with that? Now, even though classically maybe it hasn't, like, you have somebody like this is why in my picks I picked Lacey Evans to win the women's and Mustafa Ali to win the men's, because they're the 2 people that they seem to want to push, but they've kind of lost storylines for them. So instead of having to write a storyline, all you have to do is have them win a match. And then worry about this, like, okay, now, while we have them winning that match, now you go and just figure a story out for them. It buys you time.
Lacey Evans made all the sense in the world. And
all of the sense.
I've been pushing Lacey Evans for months now. I think she's got potential. She had that really bad spot at the Rumble. Like, yes. And they did the smartest thing they could do with a wrestler who has a bad spot. They got her off of TV. They got her out of there. They made you forget it, right? Like, no one's talking about that bad spot because she's not continually on TV and for us to talk about it. They did what they should have did with the main event and Becky TV. And I think she was just doing some NXT feuds here and there, but nothing big, right? So she's perfect for it, and it would have been a great spot. But no, Carmella instead, because, we got to have a dance break, apparently. That's more important than a legitimate storyline. Legitimate story. She's not from New Jersey. Just because her character's from New Jersey doesn't mean she's from New Jersey.
The Princess of Staten Island. I don't know, man. They did that a bunch.
Hogan, he's from Marietta, Georgia, so.
What's funny is because they did it with Hawkins, obviously. Having Hawkins win, that was kind of playing towards the crowd. And
not only win and retain the next night. Totally big. That was the bigger surprise than him winning at WrestleMania.
Well, I was fine with that because you were all about, like, he needs to lose it the next night, and I'm like, no, like, let him carry it. Who cares?
See, I have issue with that because that's the problem with the tag belts. That's the problem specifically with the Raw tag belts. There's no who cares, right? Who cares? Let them run with the tag belts. They don't like the Revival are trying to get a run with it, trying to push the tag belts. And now we have Hawkins and Ryder as the joke champions, essentially, right? We had the B team as the joke champions, essentially. Like, was it like the Raw belts need to be given a little bit of a run?
Was it like a year ago when we had all the bad things to say about the main titles and we were just like, the tag divisions are great? Like, they were really firing off on all cylinders, and now it's like done a total flip.
Well, last year the Raw Tag Champions was Matt Hardy and Bray Wyatt.
A little bit, yeah. They were tag champions. Who else carried them? So the Bar.
The SmackDown Tag Team Champions, them and the Bar were going back and forth.
Well, the Bar had the Raw championships for a while last year too. Before they moved over, right?
Right, and that's Matt and Bray beat the Bar.
Rollins and
then they went
Ambrose
to
carried
SmackDown.
it. Rollins and Ambrose carried the tag Raw belts for a while. McIntyre and Ziggler carried them for a 100%. Like the tag titles were doing great, and Lesnar had the Universal title way over there. And AJ Styles was doing good with the world title. I mean, I give him credit. I think the SmackDown tag titles have been stronger year over year than the Raw tag titles. It just seems like wherever the Usos are and wherever the New Day are, that seems stronger.
Got a shake up coming
on the same show.
Ever not been on the same show?
Yeah, the New Day used to be on Raw.
That was a while ago.
Yeah, before the titles were red.
No. They weren't champions when they were red. The Bar won them and got new belts, and that's when they turned red.
So I'm saying,
Like
they were the champs on Raw before
they
were red.
Yeah. Yish.
The Bar was put together to feud with New Day.
What was the best
done.
What was the best match of WrestleMania?
I'm back and forth about that. But I'd still probably have to say I enjoyed the Rollins Lesnar match. I enjoyed the premise of it. Obviously Rollins put the suplexes. There really wasn't a lot to it. It was a short match. But
it was full. It was a full match.
It was full. There was a good story. They of course Heyman did a great job coming out there and selling. Yeah, I think that was the most entertaining. Let me put it that way. That was the most entertaining match of the night.
Give you that.
Oh, wrestling match? I don't know. That Murphy and Nice match was pretty good on the pre-show.
That's so funny.
I feel like
once you threw the entertaining thing out there, I'm like, you know what? Best wrestling match? Yeah. Okay. Yeah, it's probably Nice and Buddy Murphy then.
Isn't that always the case? The 205 guys always come out.
That match is always good, man. It's always good.
And this is my pitch. This is my pitch to WWE. Put the 205 belts NXT takeovers. Take them off the main show on Sundays. Let them defend that title at takeovers. It would go off so much bigger. It would help those guys. It would help that show. 205 Live title defenses on takeover.
I could see that. It makes a lot of sense to me.
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
Call Vince up.
So with the whole us talking about how bad we thought WrestleMania was going to be, and then it actually ended up being a lot better. Now, that being said, it was better, but the problem with so many WrestleMania matches, unlike NXT matches, and again, I know this goes back to they practice one match a lot versus maybe these two guys don't practice it nearly as much, or two women practice it as much, or whatever. There's always so many spots, and the reason that I think that Rollins Lesnar match was the best match of the night was in so many of those matches, it's like they're not good at putting on the size match that it was. So I watched the Kofi Daniel Bryan match, and I liked it, but the first half of it, I'm just kind of bored, and I'm just kind of For that matter, actually, let me throw some criticism at Gargano and Cole. It didn't need to be a 2 of 3 falls match. What was the purpose of it? Just be a long building match that is a 1 fall match that, it didn't. I don't know that gimmick actually, I don't think it hurt the match, but I don't know that it really helped it either.
It didn't, and I think it was just giving it to it just to give it a gimmick.
I mean, the only way you do it is to push the underdog thing. But unless you're doing, if you really want to push an underdog gimmick, then it needs to be like an iron match. Okay, you're fighting for an hour and you go down 3-0 or something like that. You have a long ass way to go to come back from being down 3-0, and you got to work every ounce to get that win or to tie it up to go into like overtime and then to win it or whatever. But 2 of 3 falls, it's like, okay, Adam Cole gets the first one, and then you're like, okay, well, I know Gargano's going to get the second one, or else it's really bad writing. Or actually, maybe really good writing. Again, the swerves. I was begging for some swerves, and there really weren't that many of them. Now, I'm glad they didn't do swerves where we thought they were going to do swerves, because we thought Lashley was going to win, maybe. And these guys will attest, I was pacing the room. During that match, I was pacing the room. And it wasn't the whole, oh, he's afraid that he can't talk about wrestling anymore. Yeah, screw you guys. It was are you really going to desecrate the demon? I was afraid that they were going to do it because, you know what? Crazier things have happened.
A very long match to have the demon in it. I expected it to be a lot quicker.
Yeah, they allowed Lashley to have a little bit of offense, and yeah, it was surprising. It was not a good match. The pop wasn't great for the Demon. I mean, you said it, James. They weren't going to have you killed the pop
ridiculous
by introducing him that way.
It was ridiculous.
And with Sammy returns on Monday, and they show him backstage before his music hits.
Yeah.
Again, like, what's the need for that? There's no point to it. Like, just let his music hit, let the crowd pop, let him have his match, let the match end, and let him turn heel. It would have so much more effect.
Oh, by the way, when they come back, like, and his music hits, if we didn't see him, we would pop too. I'm sitting at home, and I would have popped.
Yeah.
But when you show him, it's like, oh, hey, look, it's Sami Zayn. I guess he's back.
Mm-hmm.
I don't get it. Is it like to keep people tuned in? Are they trying to get better ratings at a certain hour or something? Like, do they lose? I'd have to go back and look. I don't know when they showed him, because they used to do this back in the Monday Night Wars, and even when they were going up against like Monday Night Football and stuff, they would try to put something right before that the next show they were going up against would air to keep you tuned in or to get you to tune in. That's why they do the quick look in right before whatever they're showing on USA to get you interested on what's coming next on the show. And I'm wondering, that's the only thing that makes sense, right? The only thing that makes sense is they're trying to keep viewers viewing. So they're saying, look, Sami Zayn's next. Stay tuned. Don't switch the channel to whatever is coming on at 9 o'clock or 10 o'clock. Stay on because Sami Zayn's coming.
Well, maybe they need to because they know that competition's coming. It's coming. It's right around the corner.
Much competition.
What competition is that?
It's not going to be competition right out the gate.
Well, no, but well, the thing that I never understood with the whole AEW argument is like, hey, guess what, WWE? If you put wrestling on Monday and you put wrestling on Friday and then AEW's on Tuesday, I'm gonna watch all of it. I'm not just gonna be like, oh, I can only do 2 days of wrestling a week. It's just too much. It's too much for me to do more than 2 or 3. It's like, I'll watch all of it.
Now, you know why AEW's not anything like TNA, WCW? Because WWE acknowledges it all the time. Like, if you watched the Hall of Fame ceremony, like, they were dropping All In and AEW stuff with Billy Gunn and the DX stuff the whole night. Vince is not afraid. Triple H is not afraid. They welcome it because, honestly, it's just going to be more guys that are getting characters built that eventually can sign with WWE and get a huge pop when they come over. Like, that's it. It's like another developmental area that they don't have to pay somebody. Ring of Honor, developmental for WWE, because they don't get big in Ring of Honor and then stay in Ring of Honor. They get big in Ring of Honor and go to WWE. It's going to be the same thing. These guys, ultimately, WWE will always be the goal. So,
well, for the most part, unless some of them are just really happy on the indies,
Yeah,
some of them are
schedule
like,
and whatnot.
and then some of them are like old guys that actually had a taste in WWE, and then they made it even bigger on the independent scene, and and that's more than just Cody. But you know what? I can't think of the guy's name that I was. But I know there's a guy that was in New Japan who's really hot in New Japan right now, who wrestled in WWE for a while, and he's like way bigger. Chris Jericho's in AEW, and what are you talking about? That's just a silly comment. Shut your mouth. Shut your mouth when you're talking to me, Steven.
Oh,
I don't know.
It'll be fun. It'll be fun to see more wrestling on. I mean, obviously, I was watching Lucha Underground for a while until they took it off of, all the different options that we could watch it on.
Oh, that's the worst. I love Lucha Underground too.
Hey, but guess what? It imploded, so it worked out.
Yeah, that's sad. Yeah, that's a little bit sad. But man, God, there were so many great matches on that show. That was like the only show that I've seen since ECW that really reminded me of ECW. It was fucking brutal sometimes, but in a good way.
And we got some of those guys, and some of those guys will show up on AEW now, so it should be interesting. Another basically teetering to nothing is TNA, because a lot of those guys are starting to get freed up, and they might start showing up on either AEW or WWE. It's going to be interesting to see some of these guys who built, a little name for themselves here or there. It's going to be this time year where we start losing some people contract wise in WWE, and start seeing some new faces.
Yeah, you know what we can do? We can go to TNA. This is what you do: go to TNA. Find a muscular guy with an okay personality that's pretty good on the mic, and then we're going to put him backstage in WWE, and he's always going to be looking at himself in a mirror, and he's never going to wrestle. Does that sound like a good idea?
Oh, it's the better idea would be to go get the exact manager he had in TNA, and let him speak for him.
I know,
because those guys together are gold. That makes the most sense. Let's just copy exactly what TNA did.
Well, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Although I put an asterisk mark next to that, because again, I've complained before about like the constant copying, and sometimes I'll make the argument for copying, but it's not because I like it. It's just because, well, it's never stopped you before, so why are you not doing it now?
Well, the only one from TNA that I'd be really interested to see in WWE, or actually I would say, let me say NXT, would be Eli Drake. Like, I really would like to see what Eli Drake could do in NXT. He's one of those guys that's really good on the mic, and you made the joke already, but he does have that look. He's not a huge guy. He's probably, I don't know, what do you think? He's probably about the size of EC3. They're probably the same size, but Eli Drake is, I think he's a better wrestler, and he's much better on the mic than EC3. Interested to see him come over, and he's free from his contract now, so he might show up. You never know. Fun. There's a couple. Oh, what's his name? That's right. The guy in Lucha, that's the Hunter. I defer to you because you know all the names, James.
Oh, King Cuerno.
Cuerno.
Yeah, we talked about him a couple weeks ago.
He's the one that would be. You might not get, Sierra Mero, but you might get King Cuerno, and that's pretty good. That might not be bad in WWE.
Yeah, I think it'd be nice to change of pace.
Well, a lot of those people that were on Lucha, they got no fear, man. But from my, from having watched a good bit of WWE, obviously, because we talk about it every week, and having watched a good bit of Lucha Underground, I think the people from Lucha that I think would do the best are actually the not typical people. You know what I mean? Like, what was the name of that really big black guy who used to basically just copy all of Stone Cold's moves? What was his name? The Mac. That guy would be so over in the WWE, man. People would love him. He's in
TNA. He's been wrestling a little bit in TNA. I don't know that he's won anything yet, but he's interesting. I kind of feel like he'd be kind of redundant with what KO's doing right now, since KO's doing a little bit of Stone Cold, but
Yeah,
can do a little bit.
I agree with that. There's also oh my gosh, why am I losing all these guys' names?
Watch wrestling and you don't read.
I know. I don't read enough. That's my problem. I need to read more.
What guy are you talking about now?
Joey Ryan. There it is.
You would never, ever, ever,
Oh my
ever,
God.
ever,
I love
ever,
Joey
ever,
Ryan.
ever, ever, ever be in WWE.
I probably not, but you know what? I love the character. I used to love when he would bring like the blow pop out, and then he would like be sucking on it, and then he would like put it, he like put it in his drawers or whatever.
Never,
Oh,
ever,
man.
ever, 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 ever,
Dude,
ever.
so good. People would like Mil Muertes, man. The problem is WWE's too PG for Mil Muertes.
I think he would be the best person from that show that WWE could get, because I think he's not too extreme, definitely extreme enough, and he's got that build that Vince likes. So I think he'd be the best one that could be on the WWE roster and make an impact.
That being said, what they really need is they need to sign better women. They need a few like big women signings that like get pushed up really fast, because that's I think what they're lacking.
Yeah, but who's out there? Like, think about this right now. So Steven alluded to the fact that Sasha's not happy, Bailey's not happy. They're both upset about dropping those titles. Naya's about to go on, under the knife. She's getting double knee surgery because apparently WWE goes through these cycles where everybody gets hurt. So Naya is about to have double knee surgery. She's out for the rest of the year. Not a woman wrestler, but Big E's got to get better too. He just got a torn meniscus. So then you put the tag titles on the Iconics, which, they're great. They're funny and everything, and they're great heel tag team. But who do you even have to go up against them right now, unless you can convince Beth Phoenix to stick around a little bit longer and wrestle?
Yeah, and maybe she does. Maybe she does want to stick around. I mean, hopefully she does.
Rousey's taking a break. Charlotte's, kind of away right now because I think they're like just reworking whatever storyline they want to do for this shakeup. Asuka's been buried.
You still have Mandy Rose and Sonya Deville. You
was
still
gonna get there
can.
With Mandy.
You could still move people up, women wrestlers up from other shows. Now,
still the Riot Squad.
That hurts your other shows, but let's be honest. Look at a normal NXT card. An NXT Takeover card. You usually have 5 matches, one of which is women. So I hate to be that person, but you don't need as many women as you think on all these different cards. So move some of your strong ones up. Rhea Ripley is ready to come up. She'd be very good.
Rhea Ripley, Reina Gonzalez, that's your tag team that's coming up for Paige.
Oh God, that would be so good. I hope
it's your tag team.
I hope so. Let's do it. That would be really good. That would be really good. But you know what? I also, then I think we can collectively say, if I'm right though, and it's Io Shirai and Kairi Sane, I think we all win. If it's either one of those, we win because they're both really good options. And it pumps a lot of really good talent into the roster.
The only problem with taking Rhea Ripley out of the UK NXT, though, that leaves a hole there. I mean, Toni Storm's going to have to. Yeah, she needs somebody to feud with. I know her friend, what's
Piper,
her name?
That they're getting ready to add.
Thank you.
Piper Niven, I think, is her name.
Yeah, she's great, but I mean, that's almost a Gargano Ciampa story where they need to start on the same page and feud. So it'd be interesting to see if they can get a good storyline going, but it just leaves a big hole in the UK. I mean, you got to be careful about, like you said, you can't steal everybody from these developments because then you got nothing.
Yeah. I mean, you have to leave at least a couple good people, but don't keep too much good talent down. If you're really going to commit it to being developmental, like, and you have an issue, like, so where I can agree with you on, like, sometimes, like, leave the men alone because you have a lot of good men up in the main roster, so you don't always have to steal people from NXT. Like, let them really truly develop, and everybody will just be like, no, it's time. Like, Velveteen's getting really close. Like, I used to always be like that guy that was like, Velveteen needs to come up, and you'd be like, no, don't mess with him. No, don't mess with him. But I think we can all, agree he's getting really close. He's getting really close. Now, that being said, if you wanted to commit to NXT and making another show, well, you never have to move him. Just leave him on there forever. But if it's going to continue to be a developmental thing, then move him up. Now, the women, though, that's a different story. You need to move women down, and you need to move women up.
Well, here's the thing: you don't need, because they can take the tag titles and move around shows. They were doing that. Well, they were teasing doing that a little bit with Sasha and Bayley.
Like I said, I'll believe it when I see it when it comes to NXT.
Well, but that's the thing. Like, allow the women to come take the tag titles from the Iconics and then bring it back to NXT, bring it back to UK NXT, then show up on SmackDown every once in a while, show up on Raw once. You don't need to have those tag titles on the show every single day. Like, once a week, just give me the tag titles appearing on one of the shows once a week, and that's fine.
Here's a pitch for you.
Don't overdo it.
Here's a pitch for you. What if we had the next major NXT takeover and there was just 4 matches on the card and it was all men, and then at the takeover, like, let's say Sasha and Bayley win the titles back, they come to NXT and they do like a challenge, and then you had a tag team from NXT challenge them right there at that NXT takeover. The only issue I would have with it might not be a good match, but it would be, I think, an interesting storytelling venture.
I think you can do that with the Iconics and have it be a squash. Let the Iconics go back down to their stomping grounds, do that same storyline you talked about, but get squashed and lose the titles.
To Kairi Sane and Io Shirai. That's really all that's there. I mean, you can do a
Rey Ripley show up at Reina Gonzalez.
I guess, or
NXT.
But there's nobody other than that, right? Because at that point, you're going towards that whole, like, Aaliyah, Vanessa Bourne garbage. Like, no,
or
not great.
the other 4 horsewomen, but they're not ready. To your point earlier,
yeah, they're not ready. They're not Belair ready. Where I'm like, no, give Belair the belt because she needs to work on it. Like, they're not even like to the work on it point. Like, they're not ready.
They're very green.
Very green.
You know, we said the same thing about Baszler, and she's, turned it around.
Yeah, but
everybody picks it up quickly.
I agree. Why aren't we wrestling?
For 3 old white guys who couldn't keep up.
I think Big Baby Jimmy could be a compelling wrestler. I'll come out there in a diaper and I'll body slam everybody.
No.
It's so creepy sounding.
Is that better or worse than Cutter Bailey?
So much worse.
Cutter Bailey coming to they were kind of hinting to her going heel. I was a little confused at like her kind of getting squash-ished by Alexa Bliss. That didn't make a whole lot of sense to me.
Well, that's the thing, is they've always had Alexa squash her. Always.
Maybe she's going to keep fighting her. Like, they're going to do that WWE thing where we're going to do the same match 3 weeks in a row, but it's not for nothing. Like, it's for each time they keep pushing Bayley to the brink, and then she's going to do a heel turn.
And then make Bayley and Alexa be tag partners?
No, they're going to make that would be interesting. But no, I'm thinking they're going to be very ununique, and they're going to be like, well, maybe we can do the same thing with Bayley that we did with Becky Lynch. People will cheer, and then we can make her a badass.
She's not a heel.
It's not going to work, WWE. Well, don't say she's not a heel. Where there's a will, there's a way. Ooh, 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 ooh. I'm raising my hand. Somebody call on me.
We don't call on Will. Stop talking.
Let's Hey, hush your mouth. And this is another thing. I'm just going to ask the question, and I know you're going to know where I'm going with this, Chris, but I'm just going to throw a topic out here, and I want to hear your guys' opinion on it. The Bray angle where there's a bird coming out of a box. Discuss. Because I was ranting about this to Tiro, and I love it. But you guys first, by all means.
It's so ridiculous. I love it. It's so ridiculous. I love it. I don't know what it's gonna be. We were looking at it today, and I had to look at the still picture just to be like, oh, that's his old shirt, and it's a buzzard. So you should yeah, I get it. It makes sense. I don't know where they're gonna go with it, but
with the being Bray, they're gonna go nowhere with it.
Yeah, I guess I know, yeah, because Steven, you might be more frustrated with Bray than I am, and I might like him more, but I think you're more frustrated with what they've done with him over the years. Bray's been done wrong. He does such a good job with whatever character they give him, whatever storyline they give him. He makes it work. He's gold on the mic.
But I solved it. I solved it. I came.
Are you going to talk about this puppet right now? Are you seriously?
Keep going. I'm going to let you guys talk. Just keep going.
You're not. See, he says he's going to let us talk, but yet every once in a while, he just gets louder and just speaks over us.
Just go ahead, Jimmy. Come on. Just let it out.
Let me tell everybody what they need.
Get your hand puppet
life.
out and let us know.
Let me tell you what everybody needs in their life. What we need is for Bray Wyatt to come out with this buzzard puppet on his hand, and all he does is talk through the puppet. I'm telling you, this sounds ridiculous, but I'm telling you, after a couple weeks, this would be so over. It's kind of like the whole Broken Hardy thing where people were just confused by it, but then they kept working on it, and eventually it stuck. If you made, because they already like to make Bray look like he's gone crazy, basically. If you have him come out like he's gone crazy, and he is talking through this damn puppet, and you never see him, pull the mic up to his face, but he, holds it up to the puppet, which is right in front of his face, and he just talks, through it or whatever. Oh, my God. Golden stuff.
No, moronic.
How?
Idiotic.
How? Why? Why is it moronic? Why is it idiotic?
Because it's a puppet.
Okay. Al Snow used to talk to a fucking head, and it was so over.
It is so
time.
Steven's just no, it's a puppet. No. No.
Well, okay. Okay, well, we clearly have two positions on this, so Chris, I need you to be the tiebreaker.
My question for both of you is, what if it's not Bray Wyatt? What if they're trolling the hell out of us and it's not Bray Wyatt?
But who is it?
I'm more interested in that swerve.
Is it JoJo? Is it JoJo's baby?
Oh, God.
I don't know, man.
Well, it was nice having a podcast, but I think it's over.
It's a buzzard wearing Bray Wyatt's old shirt. Are you kidding me? It's definitely Bray Wyatt, and it's strange. So it fits the strange thing. So I'm probably totally wrong.
Obvious.
I'm probably totally wrong, right? That puppet's going to be no part of his gimmick other than maybe what speaks during promos or whatever on the screen, which is fine. I think if that bird was literally the promo bird, so you never actually see Bray, but that bird would be creepy and just talk and whatnot, it actually can work. I promise you it can work. That being said, do I actually think he's going to come out with the puppet on his hand and he's going to talk through it? No. I don't think it's moronic or idiotic. I think it would frickin' work. Because in WWE, you have to have a certain amount of people that are just serious athletes and stuff, and that's never been Bray Wyatt. You're talking about somebody whose shtick has always been in the weird. So what's weirder than that? I think it's good weird too.
Wasn't your angle that what if it's Dean Ambrose and he's just
yeah.
and he's just gone crazy?
Oh my God, I because that would be even better. Like, let's say Dean Ambrose. Well, first of all, it would be great because if Dean Ambrose came out, me and Stu would be like, hey, or I think we're getting a drink. Are we getting a drink? I think we're getting a drink from Chris. But regardless of that, like if it was Dean Ambrose that came out and he was talking through a puppet, I think it might work even better. Like he's just hit a breaking point and now he's gone out of his fucking rocker.
I actually would be interested in that. Yeah, I would.
Oh, see, I've half sold you guys. I've half sold you. Oh my God, I can't wait for him to come out with a fucking puppet on his hand and just like that week I'm gonna be the most obnoxious fucking guy on the podcast, even more than I am now.
Gonna get that and Cutter Bailey all in the same episode.
Oh, yes, Cutter Bailey. Okay, I'm going to try not to talk for like the last 25 minutes of this podcast. Take it away, guys.
No, I don't want that because it's more fun to make fun of you.
Wow.
Okay, so I'm going to throw a random one out there. What if it's somebody we don't be? Like who can make sense? Like what not NXT, but is there anybody out there that would fit?
Lars Sullivan.
Lars Sullivan's. You're not listening.
I'm trolling you. I don't know. You know why I said Lars Sullivan? Because his other. Well, actually, no, that's incorrect. I was gonna say
who else it could be. I mean, there's.
I was gonna say his other angle didn't work, but then like Chris threw the angle out, and I thought it was like the most amazing thing ever because he was like, "What is Lars Sullivan the guy who comes out and beats like old wrestlers?" And I'm like, "How about he like is the one who retires all the old wrestlers? Like that would be great." Because it's time for them to go to greener pastures.
Wow.
You don't agree?
Yeah, I do. To an extent. Like,
so who's the bird? Who's the bird? Let's see it. What do you got? Who's the bird?
Billy Goober.
Oh my God, that would be amazing. Could you imagine if the gobbledygooker came out dressed as Bray Wyatt? It would be like my dream come true. Hey, I said that I missed the gobbledygooker. I thought he was like, he's the thing that everybody hated, but I thought the gobbledygooker was awesome. I mean, at the time, of course it was stupid, but like you look back on it now, like I bet people would freak the hell out if the gobbledygooker came out at a Rumble, or if somebody in a Giant Gonzalez costume came out. Like people would go crazy for it. People would go crazy for it.
Horrible
situation with the gobbledygooker. Like what
is
it about that character?
No. But we're like, what if that thing in the box is just the new gobbledygooker and somebody comes out, like the gobbledygooker comes out dressed like Bray Wyatt? A giant buzzard gobbledygooker.
No.
Hey, you asked for my opinion.
I don't like your opinion.
Okay. No more opinions from me.
The only one that possibly makes sense, but the shirt makes it seem like it's Bray Wyatt, right? The fact that it's like wearing Bray Wyatt's shirt. Marty Scurll. Yeah. Marty.
Oh yeah, you know
He's
what?
AEW.
Kind of. He hasn't signed. He hasn't signed with anybody yet.
Did he not?
Coming up, but I don't think he signed with anybody. I mean, looking. I'm
searching it. I'm searching it right now. Let me take a look real quick. You keep.
But
talking.
yeah, he's got that like bird character, but like you'd obviously the shirt thing throws it. That's what I keep saying. But like he would be the only other thing that could possibly make sense for this weird bird in a box character, right?
Yeah.
It would be pretty amazing to give him that much of a push out the gate. It's the damn shirt,
gate, yeah.
I'm I'm hoping, but I think I've given up hope already as I talk through it. But it'd be interesting if they could get him. I don't know that he would be as big as he was in Ring of Honor. He's another, as I talk about it, he would make sense to bring in. You bring Adam Cole up, you bring Marty in, and now all of a sudden,
Do you see that right there, Chris? I just linked you something. Look at that. You remember when we were looking at the box, and we were like, "What about the box?"
Something on the box?
Look at the image. There's an image that came out right there, right? You see the image? What does the image say? Yeah, it says Marty Scurll, and then it's got the picture of the umbrella. Remember there was the umbrella on the box?
Is there?
Yeah, because we were looking at it. We were like, is there something on the box that's supposed to be telling you what's going on? Now
just
again,
crack this freaking thing.
Now again, somebody else
That
did because I'm just reading rumors. So again, I don't necessarily trust this stuff until I see it.
Time out.
Yeah.
You don't read.
Exactly. I don't read. Well, no, I was looking it up right now because we were talking about it. I was looking it up. God. Well,
you stay away from those rumors.
That aside, we were literally watching. We were watching the video today.
Umbrella on the box.
Yeah. We were watching the video and we were like, "Is there anything about the box?" And I've seen that box images before. I'm like, "No, it's just a normal box." I was like, literally everything you see on the box is just a normal box. If that is Marty Scurll, oh my God!
Getting a new family? Could they bring him and Bray together?
They could. I think
that could save the Raw Tag Division.
That'd be so good.
I'm going to. I would flip out if that happened. What a big signing! That would
massive.
Be great. I mean, I know we're obviously hoping right now, but wow, that would be great.
Oh my God, seeing him come out with the umbrella and the fur on. Oh my God, I'd go ballistic.
I think that'd be great for Bray.
Wearing the puppet first.
Well, that's what you can do. You could have Bray come out, and you think that was what it was the whole time, and maybe you just don't even bring Marty out for a while, and everyone just thought it was Bray the whole time. But then eventually Marty finds a way onto the show and helps Bray win something, or helps Bray win a title, or helps Bray beat a tag team, or something in general that they're on. So we're hoping a little bit too hard, but we could dream. We could definitely write better than they can sometimes.
Well, I like that writing. I mean, if this random umbrella thing ends up being true and he ends up getting signed, then I'll have to give you a golf clap, WWE. I'd be very proud.
That would be totally Triple H, right?
Of course. Who else would it be? It definitely wouldn't be Vince.
It's interesting that they would put him on the main show, though. Don't you think? You brought in Adam Cole, who arguably might have been a bigger name than Marty on the independent scene. Go to NXT, but you're going to bring Marty onto the main roster?
Yeah, but if they watch his matches, it's not just that, his matches too, man. He's a damn good wrestler.
Isn't he the one that does that annoying too sweet thing? Don't they do that for him? Is he the one that they do it for? He hates?
I think so. Which, that could be a work. Because, could be a work.
Right. Work.
Be Triple H bringing him in for a new Evolution faction with Bray.
Going down the rabbit hole right now of possibilities.
Yeah, I know, right? Off track in the.
Welcome to our podcast. We basically go off the rails because we get interested in something, and all of a sudden we're just going to talk about every scenario that would make the current scenario better.
I criticize the rumors, and then we're just jumping down this rumor hole.
Yeah, that's what you get for reading.
Yeah, I know. I should have never learned to read. I should have just been ignorant my entire life. I would have turned out better.
A little bit better. I don't know about better, but a little bit.
Then you wouldn't have so many opinions.
Yeah, that's the Jimmy I love to hear from.
Yep.
In general, I know we did the podcast late this week, but I was actually excited to do it because for once, we were wrong.
Yeah.
WrestleMania was good.
We were double
Takeover.
wrong. Hey, we were double wrong. You know why? Because the Raw and the SmackDown after WrestleMania wasn't really that good.
That great.
Yeah.
Yeah, they kind of flipped it on us, didn't
Yeah. It
they?
was kind of weird.
In a
And it was
bad
weird
way.
because they flipped it to like crazy surprises at WrestleMania. They just put on a good show. And then Raw and SmackDown was almost the Elias thing, Jim, you kind of predicted. You wanted it to be on
I predicted it to be
WrestleMania,
on
but
WrestleMania and then it ended up being on Raw.
on Raw. It was okay. It wasn't terrible. I mean, obviously Elias took the boot better than Cena did.
The bad pun. The next person to come out here is going to be a dead man. Dung.
Yeah.
Taker's in a lot better shape this time than he was against Cena, though.
Still looks old though, man. Oof.
That's why he was just out there to do a kick, and that was about it.
So we got what? What was the surprises on Monday? We got the possibility of a unification with Kofi versus Rollins.
But they did that, and then they went
Sammy.
to commercial and advertised Kofi's championship celebration on SmackDown the next night.
Which isn't necessarily a spoiler. I mean, that could be a spoiler for the end of the show. Like, oh, he's going to beat Rollins. Like, it's not so much of a spoiler that,
You brought up, okay, so Steven's bringing up spoiler. You mentioned spoiler. I do have a gripe, and you have the same gripe. They showed the belt,
Ugh,
freaking thing,
worst.
during the Kofi Daniel Bryan match, and they showed the present.
The worst.
It wasn't as bad, but it was still bad.
It was
But
bad.
You could literally see the belt under the whatever it was, the apron or whatever they had over where they were putting Daniel Bryan's belt. Like you could tell that the belt was there. To which point you literally said, "I know what's going to happen now. Why did they do that? I know what's going to happen now.
They should
They're
have
going
had
to
it
do that."
where every time Daniel came out there, he put it on that pedestal, because the pedestal being there made no sense.
Made no sense. And then the present, you never needed to show that present. Never. There was no reason for him to bring that present out beforehand. They gave away that whole outcome of that match. And it took away from it a little bit. We haven't once said that was one of the best matches on the card or one of the best entertaining matches on the card. It would have been a great match if they would have left the surprise out there. I don't know. I mean, there's still a chance that we get a good storyline out of it, because I love the idea that we talked about where Daniel Bryan then brings back the title and says that he's still the the planet's champion. But again, I have a gripe with that, because what's on sale on WWE.com shop right now? The shirt that says I'm the planet's and still the planet's champion. He's going to come back out with that belt.
Which was funny because you weren't even pissed off about that until the next day when I was like, are they actually selling that shirt? And we looked it up and they were. And you were like, that's bullshit. It's like, that's exactly what they're going to do. And this is crap.
Giving away their storylines. Like they did it with the Demon. They did it with the title under the curtain. They did it with the present. They did it with the T-shirt. They did it with Sami Zayn. Like, come on, guys! Like, and if this is just gonna be Bray Wyatt, you did it with Bray Wyatt. You put a damn shirt on the freaking the buzzard, and it's obvious who it is.
But maybe they're trying to trick us. Maybe that's why it is Marty. Because
they were trying to trick us that the Demon was going to lose. They were trying to trick us that he wasn't going to win the title. And they're trying to trick us that the present means nothing. And they were trying to trick us that the T-shirt means nothing. And they were trying to trick us that Sami Zayn wasn't going to show up. No, they're not tricking us. They're giving away the pop.
But you know what? If it's actually Marty and we've fallen into the trap of being like, no, they just keep giving away every angle, and then Marty comes out, we are going to poop ourselves. Like, guys, I've got to go change my pants.
wears a diaper, and we call him Big Baby Jimmy. I
Big Baby Jimmy's drink is empty, and this is a problem.
think it's just I think it's frustrating because I think they're actually on the verge of some good storylines, but they continue to give up the pop for those storylines. And it started with the Demon and how passionate and annoyed you were, James, at it. And I'm now on board. Like, I'm annoyed. Like, they need to stop. I want to have that holy crap moment that I had WrestleMania 2 years ago when the Hardys came out. And I was like, holy crap, it's actually the Hardys. I want to have that moment of when the Hurricane came out at Royal Rumble when I'm a kid again. And I'm like, I am marking out because it's the Hurricane.
I can second this. Like, he was going nuts. I was looking over. I was thinking, good gracious, it's just a hurricane. Settle down.
It's all we want, though, right? Like, all we ever want is our view of what we're watching to be our childhood, to be excited and surprised and to pop. And you're taking that away from us. Stop taking it away from us.
Stop sucking the fun.
Sucking it out.
I'm over it.
He's over it. It's one of his favorite things to say. I'm over it, man. I'm just over it.
Yeah.
You say it so much that I say it now. I'm over it. Kind of like how I've like integrated truth into your guys' lexicon of words. Like, I always say like truth to everything, and now I notice that everybody constantly says truth back. I'm like, I've poisoned everybody's grammar with truth.
Just in text. Yeah, just in text.
Yeah.
So, what do we expect going forward here? Outside of WrestleMania, outside of the Raw and SmackDown at a WrestleMania, what's next? Where do we go? What's the next pay-per-view coming up? Is it
Money in the Bank?
Money in the Bank. So, what do we want to see at Money in the Bank? Who do we want to see win the Money in the Bank, and maybe what kind of title match would you want to see?
I would like to see Mustafa Ali get the Money in the Bank.
Of course you do.
And but because he's a good guy, he just immediately cashes it in to set up himself a match with Kofi Kingston. I think that that's a really good match. I think you can play off of the, whoever wins deserve to have the spot type of an angle. Because
Andrade win it.
Well, yeah, actually, you know what? That's probably better. Like, because Ali can just challenge Kofi, and you can probably just make a match. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I think that they weren't doing that a lot. They weren't necessarily doing that a lot till recently, where they would bring up the fact that it was Ali's spot. So where would Ali be? Would Ali be in the same position or whatever? Like, they hinted that might be the case or whatever, whether we believe it or not. So it's possible that maybe that's the angle they're going for, though, because you could easily, I would honestly have Kofi win that match, but you could make a really good match out of it because they're two very, very talented, like, high flyers. In regards to the women, I don't know. Or do you do two women's matches? So do you have like a Money in the Bank-esque match where you have a bunch of like high priority women going after the belts, and then you have a Money in the Bank for, later?
Almost have to.
You don't have to. I don't know if that's accurate.
That's what I said, almost.
It just depends on how long you want Becky.
I don't know. The women's division's a mess.
Becky 2 belts to go. I mean,
to quote Chris, I'm over it. I'm over the women's division.
I'm cool with the rumor if that's what they're gonna play off of with Lacey Evans, just to get the title off of Becky. I think you need to get the title off of Becky sooner rather than later. Ladder match makes sense.
Yeah, because it's easy. You can do the split where you have to get both of them.
Yeah, like they both basically get up to the top of the ladder at the same time. They both grab one, they both fall down, and then it's a question of, well, I guess one gets one gets the other.
Yeah.
Or
Ideally,
Becky,
it would be
Becky defending twice in one night, I think would be a good storyline too, where she wins one and loses one.
why not lose one to Flair? Like, you don't have to give Lacey Evans a belt right away. That seems a little silly to me. Why not have split it and have Flair win it? Then you have Asuka win the Money in the Bank. Asuka cashes in on Flair immediately after she wins it that night or something
the
like
most
that.
interesting person, like, to hold the Money in the Bank, not to win it and cash. So here's the thing. I don't think whoever wins it, I don't think whoever wins it cashes it in that night, because you just did that last year and they don't tend to do it year over year the same way. Flip it.
What are you who won it this last time?
Alexa Bliss.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, I remember that now. Yeah, it looks like when they do it like right away, I forget about it sometimes. Well, I don't know. I mean, I hate to always pump the people that I like, but I guess that's just natural. Give it to Ember Moon.
I'm okay with that.
I mean, who else are you going to give it to? The only one that I would like that's kind of like mid-card-ish that I think maybe deserves a push, well, there's two of them, then I would say either give it to Ruby Riott or give it to Sonya Deville.
Bailey. If they really want to do a heel turn, let her be a Money in the Bank could do it.
Do you want her to she should probably heel turn before she goes into the match, though? I don't know that it wouldn't make sense for her to heel turn during the match. I don't know that plays out well
No,
from a
like
story
with the briefcase,
perspective.
she can use the briefcase to turn heel. Like she cashes in on whoever the face is instead of whoever the heel is.
It's a step in the heel direction.
Sure.
What if
She hits him over the head with the briefcase and then cashes in because she wants the belt.
That would be Becky, right?
I can't believe I'm saying this.
God.
What if they give it to Billie Kay?
No, I don't see that though. That doesn't. I don't know that like.
Follow this.
Okay.
So usually the person with the Money in the Bank either is the underdog who needs the cash in, or is the heel that needs to take advantage in a cash in.
Cheater heel, yeah.
Right. Who is a bigger cheater / goofy heel than Billie Kay right now in the women's division? She's not going to win it.
Mandy Rose.
That's not a bad one too, but Billie Kay would be like the ultimate finger to the women's division, where they give it to her and she like every once in a while comes out with the briefcase,
Carmella did,
but never actually cashes it in. But kind of like Carmella did, but even goofier and even more heelish than Carmella was doing it. So history tends to repeat itself. If that was a storyline they've done before, they'll do it again.
Beth Phoenix is going to win.
So I'd be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised if she wrestles some more after being able to hold her own in that match.
It was more entertaining than I felt like it deserved to be.
I don't know if that's a knock on the match, on the wrestlers. I don't know how that works.
You can take it any way you want.
You could really give it to anybody in the Riot Squad though, because I don't know that they're necessarily like not cheap. I mean, I know that Ruby Riott has at times wrestled matches where she comes off as legit, but she also has matches where her cronies do all the work for her.
Yeah. Be interesting to see, and I just hope they do a good job with it and don't just waste it like they've done in the past with the men with Braun Strowman. I'd like to see Kofi and Daniel Bryan again and Money in the Bank. That'd be interesting, and that could be another 2-belt kind of match where Daniel comes out with his belt and they can kind of get rid of one of them.
I've got two more ideas. Stephanie McMahon, speaking to Steven's point, she's a heel, and then Selena Vega.
Stephanie McMahon makes all the sense in the world with my Billy Kay storyline idea. So yeah, I'm subbing out Billy Kay for Stephanie McMahon gladly.
I also think Vega would work too.
Too short. She can't get the belt or the briefcase.
She can't reach it.
Alexa Bliss got it.
Yeah, barely.
Yeah.
She was up pretty high. She was struggling.
What about the guys?
Well, if we're going by your same argument that it either needs to be like a heel or an underdog.
You pick who you want. That's just my thought process when I think of these matches.
I think it's a good idea though. It definitely doesn't need to be anybody that can just win. You know what I mean? That never makes sense to me. Or somebody who's just good enough that they're gonna get a shot. That never makes sense. Like, don't give it to a high name person. Don't give it to, you don't need AJ Styles to have it. You don't need Braun Strowman to have it. That makes no sense.
Andrade. I'm saying Andrade.
Andrade makes sense because he's kind of a mixture of both. He can just straight up win a match. He can just straight up win a match, or he's, can just be a fucking heel bastard and just fucking win a match that way. So he's a good character for that reason.
I think the best scenario for the Money in the Briefcase, and I lose the bet. I understand that, but
Dean Ambrose. Yeah, you cut out there for a second. So you said Dean Ambrose.
Sorry, Dean Ambrose wins it. I'll lose the bet, obviously.
I can already taste that Negroni. It's delicious.
It's a good storyline because you sign him in time to just introduce him in the match. He wins the match. Just kind of roams around with that briefcase, and you never know what he's going to possibly do. Is he going to go after Rollins? Is he going to go after Kofi? Dean, I think, would be a really interesting storyline that he could just show up on any show or whatever the shakeup does. It keeps him at the top of the card, and it might keep him around if he wants to stick around and sign a new contract or not. I still don't think he's sticking around, but in the best case scenario of him sticking around, I think that makes sense. He wins the Money in the Bank briefcase.
Anywhere, but I think he's going to take some time off. I think it'll be 2 or 3 pay-per-views, and then you'll see him pop up somewhere. I don't think he'll come right back at Money in the Bank. I'd love it. I think you could let him play into his crazy character like he's been doing, like when he kept challenging McIntyre and he kept, telling him he had stuff he had to do himself and stuff. Like, he can keep playing that kind of role that he's good at, just wandering around, keeping everybody on edge. And then him do like the whatever thing, like they're in a big match. One of the champions is on the ground. He's just like, okay, whatever, let's do it. And just cashes in on a whim. A face or a heel. They could work it really nicely.
And you get to keep Dean around, so.
Yeah.
I'm not against either one of your guys' picks. I mean, those guys I think are both deserving of a shot. I guess the question is, do they win? Or are they one of the few that loses the cash in? Because we're starting to trend in the opposite direction lately with the guys cashing in, right? They're not winning.
Yeah.
It used to be that it was like a foregone conclusion that if you got the Money in the Bank briefcase, you were getting the belt.
What if you made it somebody really interesting? Like, what if you made it Xavier Woods?
So that's what I said before, because you have Kofi and Big E do their feud.
Yeah.
Have Xavier Woods win. But now that Big E's out, I think that's going to be later on down the road. I think Big E
Kofi might get a good run right now.
Saying it could go to SummerSlam.
With the men, I don't know if with the men it's always like taking advantage thing. I mean, you could just give it to Lars Sullivan.
Oh, God.
I hate you.
I don't.
Uh-oh. See, people, that was that moment where Chris went, oh, no, that could happen. Yeah.
Because, again, so we didn't have a podcast when this conversation was happening, but Lars Sullivan, we all hate, But that ladder match in NXT Takeover, that amazing ladder match that you could watch on the WWE Network, is the ultimate heel in that match, because every other wrestler that climbed that ladder, people cheered for in some way or another. As soon as he hit that ladder, everyone booed. And he is that heel, right? He's that true heel that everyone hates. He's not necessarily a good character. He's not necessarily a good wrestler, but he's a good heel because we all hate him.
Jinder Mahal?
That's there it is.
There's another one.
Heel. He's a good heel. So when James says he could win it, we don't like it, but if you look at it from a storyline alone,
I don't know if it needs it. I don't know if it needs it, though. Mainly because it's one of those situations where, again, he's going to go through and they're going to make sure that he's strong and he's going to squash a bunch of people. So eventually he's just going to get a match.
I don't know, man. I feel like giving him that briefcase.
You know who I really want to get
makes sense for his character.
You know who I really want to win Money in the Bank is somebody that I'm pretty sure is ready, but I haven't seen him in forever. But I think the crowd would go absolutely nuts over if he came out. Give it to Fandango.
Know that I'm against that.
They would go nuts.
I don't know if he's ready. I think that'd be interesting. Is that just another cheap pop that really? I don't know.
Maybe give it to Bray if Bray comes back.
Yes. Give any and everything to Bray because he deserves it.
If it's Marty, have him come out at Money in the Bank and have him win.
Have him help Bray win.
There you go.
I like it.
Him help Bray win.
Well,
There's the spot.
There it is. We've been talking for over an hour and a half. We're about 1:36 at this point. So.
Dun, dun, dun. Oh, now you got it in my head.
Yep. There you go. You're welcome. I miss Fandango, man. Great. I miss him with Tyler Breeze. That was a good tag team. A perfectly good mid-level tag team that wasn't a joke. I mean, they did a lot of jokes, but they weren't a joke. They were actually pretty good. That being said, we thank everybody for listening to us this week.
Hey, I got something. Hit the little subscribe button. If you've made it this far in the podcast, you actually are interested. So there's a little subscribe button at the end. I figured that out. And there's also a little a playlist that you can click on if you want to listen to the most up-to-date upload that we've done. So click on that too. See, look at that. Hey, promoting the podcast.
There you go.
There you go.
We'll be starting a new podcast, by the way, next week. It's called Chris Learns How to Use YouTube. Yeah.
James is the one that uploads everything, so
I died. I just died a little bit on the inside when he said, I just learned that there's a subscribe button over there on the corner of the screen.
I learned how to put it in the damn thing. Shut up and just sign off.
Okay. Thank you again, everybody, for listening to us this week. We had a fun time talking as usual. And, next week's the Superstar Shakeup, so we'll have plenty to talk about. The whole... before we leave, the whole unification thing, I think kind of muddies the water with brand split stuff, but I don't know. They're always going to have a Survivor Series, though, so they're always going to do brand splits to a degree.
Figure it out.
But
yeah, they'll figure it out.
I don't know. We'll figure it out, but, as always, we got Chris, we got Steven, I'm Big Baby Jimmy. Thanks for listening to the Bald Monkey Wrestling Podcast.
Hello, the Buzzards.
The Buzzards.